I'm ready.
Okay, we are live. Yoo-hoo! So I'm Becky Norwood with Spotlight Publishing. This is Brenda Hammon and her husband, Bud. And we have Martha Clay and Joe Dibley. And we are celebrating today. We are celebrating a book launch for a book that's really different for Brenda. She's written a number of books, but this one is really fun. Can you hold it up and show everybody so we can do a little bit of celebration?
I don't know. Can you? There you go. Can you see it good?
It was
kind of distorted.
So, there you go. So, how was your day? And I love the cover on it. It's beautiful. Okay, now these, both Joe, Bud, and Marta are mentioned and stories about them in the book. So let's open up the conversation about what this book is all about, and celebrate this beautiful, fun time together.
Little did they know that when they hang with me, they could end up in a book.
And probably a sequel before it's over with.
Oh yes, I've already started the next series of stories. So beware.
Awesome. So Joe, where are you located now, and how did you two become friends?
So currently, I'm located in Morelos, Mexico. We live here part of the year. And Brenda and I met quite some time ago. I did not know she was like a sleuth detective recording every moment of stories and my goof. But so pleased and so happy to be part of this book because it is. But we've known each other quite some time now.
So I know there were some pretty funny stories that written in this book about your escapades for the two of you. Brenda, can you share a little, kind of get the conversation rolling? And I want you guys just to share the laughter and the joy of this thing.
Well, like Joe said, we met quite some time ago, and I mean, we're both have a similar background, just like you, Becky, and Joe and I have a very similar one in people trying to kill us, that sort of stuff. So we kind of started to get together, and she had her events called Frock Off, and I started going to these events, and I thought, I could always learn something from the events, and as time progressed, we became friends. And I think the first time I went to her house, she was hosting an event, and I went to help her and do all that sort of stuff. And then it just kind of morphed after that. And then we decided that we had both entered the Reader's Favorite contest for our books. And Joe had won a bronze, and I had an honorable mention on mine. And Joe met me in Red Deer, and she said, "Well, are you going to go?" And I'm going, "Well, no, why would I go? I only got an honorable mention." So there she is, kicking me in my arse, saying, "You're going to go." She got a hold of Bud and said, "She's going." Next thing we knew, within a matter of probably 15 minutes, we were also going to Disneyland or Disney World. I never know which one it is. Anyway, the one in Orlando.
In Orlando, that's Disney World.
Disney World. So then that started, and we had never traveled together. We had never really stayed together. So it was going to be an interesting experience because, like I say, we knew each other from the events and things like that, but now we're going to get to know each other on a whole different level. And it started out, it was interesting. We had missing planes and planes that were delayed, and Joe had to fly in one that they pulled out of the Aviation Museum, I believe. It was bad. It was really bad. But we had the best week ever. Because we did Facebook Lives in Disney World, and, people thought we were crazy. So I had to explain where we're from. We're from Canada.
We're those crazy Canadians.
And I don't know, it just became so much more after that too, and the adventures that we have had is incredible. I mean, we laugh a lot. We belly laugh all the time. I mean, by the time I came home from Disney World with Joe, I mean, my face hurt, my stomach hurt, my face hurt.
Don't make me laugh anymore.
It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. So that became, quite a few. I think there's probably 2 or 3 of those stories in the book with Joe on that trip. So, yeah.
Oh, awesome. So, Bud, you're in a lot of the stories, of course, because you're the husband. And he's going, what is your favorite story that Brenda told about you?
I think my favorite one is the one that hasn't happened yet.
The one that hasn't happened yet.
I can tell you my favorite one.
Oh, no.
I know Brenda's favorite one.
Unfortunately, none of these stories are.
I know where that's going.
Fabricated. They're all real, so they actually happened, and so I have to own up to the fact that I was on my back porch trying to scare away a skunk and keep the dog safe.
There's a jingly bit hanging everywhere. But that's not my favorite story. My favorite story is when I scared the living bejesus out of you.
Exactly.
I still laugh over that, and you don't.
I'm still mad at that one.
I still think it's funny.
Well, there's one picture, because every chapter in the book has some really cool photos. And one of them, you've got this look on your face, and I think it's the one with the cap on your head, and you just what am I doing here?
Is that Cooper?
I think that's the Cooper one.
The Cooper one.
Yeah, she can't just get a mini horse. I've always, my first car ever was a Mini Cooper. And I've sort of, as your first car, it's like your first kiss or whatever. You always have fond memories of that. And well, they came back, and well, maybe at some point I'll get another Mini. So we decided that we couldn't just get the horse. The horse's name was going to be Cooper, and it's a mini horse. And she had this gag about, for my birthday, I was going to get a Mini Cooper because I'd always wanted one, and it was my first car. And she played this along for, almost a month. And then on the day, then she revealed to the world that this is his Mini Cooper. And it was a Mini horse, and I'm kneeling down with the horse. And that's how, long story short, that's how that part all happened. But my picture was sort of faint
in disbelief.
It was good.
The running thing for quite a while. It was fun.
Shocking.
So we are celebrating this day because this is the release of Brenda's book. And Marta, where do you play in with all of these crazy stories? I know you two have had a history together too, and I'm sure that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
She's like a typhoon. You just kind of like washes over you. You just don't have a chance. But I'm one of those people that, I'm just going to join in. Okay, so you want to do this? Yeah, I'll do it. Am I going to get in trouble? Probably, but that's okay. There's company in misery, But no, we really, the best one, and it's not for the funny reason, but the best one is the one about the trip with the girls. The girls still talk about that trip. That's the best holiday they ever had. And it was so much fun. And of course, now we're planning other trips. And so you're like, okay, well, wait a minute. Austin's older now. So she's going to be forced to reckon with just because Martina and Tanis. So, yeah. So Brenda and I are really going to have to be on our toes for the next trip we take, because now there's 3 against 2. So yeah, we're in trouble now.
Yeah.
It was, and that story is called Apples and Trees, and it was good. It was good. Screaming in the middle of the night because you think that there's a spirit ripping your blankets off your bed.
And I'm her protector. I'm sound asleep.
Some protector.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying. Yeah, I was there to protect you.
It was crazy.
Brenda and I, we've known each other it's funny the way it started because we met at a meeting. And just a casual meeting. And then the next one we met, I was like, okay.
Oh,
We lost Marta.
that's a terrible place to
I think we lost Joe and Marta.
I think we did. We lost them both. Aw.
The capture for Marty is another trip.
She's going, there, that's better.
Oh, hang on.
Turn your volume up, Marta.
My volume is up as high as it'll go.
Okay.
You want me to be louder? Really?
The one meeting that we had met was at a Ducks Unlimited function.
That was the very first time.
That was the very first time. And so here comes Marta and Don. They come into this Ducks Unlimited fundraiser. And they come in with a representative for the Edge benefits at the time, I believe.
Yes.
Yes, he was. Anyway, he had left his wife at home because she wasn't feeling well. So, throughout the evening, he would leave his phone on the table. So when he was gone, I would grab his phone and I would text his wife and say, I just bought a gun. I just bought a table saw. I just bought this. And his wife was texting back, saying, what do you mean you bought a gun? And he's looking at the text. He's going, I didn't buy a gun. He couldn't figure out what the heck was going on. And every time he left his phone, I would say he bought something else from him. So it took him a while before he figured out, somebody's playing with my damn phone. Needless to say, he was in trouble with his wife for buying all this stuff. That's the first induction Marta had of me.
Well, and that teaches a person lesson. Do not leave your phone laying where Brenda can get a hold of it.
True.
But yeah, so that was where I met her, and it's just been one adventure after another.
Yes.
Brenda, the next book you're going to have to put in about another time when we were in Miami, because I know you have one in there already, but about the introduction to our rental car.
Oh, yes. Si, señorita.
We didn't know what it was saying. We didn't know directions. Oh my God. We hadn't even pulled out of the rental car lot. We had to get someone to come and show us because you can't read where to change the language.
No.
So we went and got the girl that had taken us to the car. Well, she was Spanish, but she didn't speak or read Spanish. So she had to get somebody that all we could do was sign language. Is like, we don't know what to do. How are we going to get around?
I never thought that when we went to Miami that we're actually going to a suburb of Mexico. I mean, everything is in Spanish, and you're going, am I in a foreign country here?
What's going on here?
It was crazy. Yeah,
It was
in the
funny,
car
though, because they're sitting there in that car going,
You are.
and I'm like, I have no idea.
Yes, it was
And
crazy.
there's several stories from that trip to Miami, especially when the boys get to ride around in the airport.
Yes, Yeah, they couldn't
We weren't
get back to
involved.
the
We
field.
weren't involved. I was just watching on my tracker, seeing them going around the airport.
I think they called their navigator Misty. Well,
Yes.
Misty was taking the boys to the airport around and around and around. And we were watching them and they're saying, we're on our way. And they kept going around and around and around at the airport. Couldn't get out.
Duncan would have got them there.
Yes, that's right.
Well, it's a real celebration to be able to have this book come out, and it's a little bit of a deviation from the other types of books that you've done.
Yes.
Which is refreshing. It's really fun. And for those that are listening or will be listening to this, you can pick up a copy of the book on Amazon. Just type in Brenda's name, and you'll see actually the whole listing of all the books that she's done. She has done quite a variety, and she has her Sacred Hearts Rising, the fifth and the fifth and the fourth in the series coming up too.
Mm-hmm. That should be ready to be launched probably early spring next year. So we're just getting all of the authors organized, and they're going to be writing their stories. And there's quite a few interesting stories that it's going to be good. They're all good, but I like this one, in a different way, because these are all different stories than what's ever been said before, really.
Awesome.
So it's going to be good. But if I hadn't done my own books, I wouldn't have been able to do this book, because you can let your stories enable you, or you can let your stories enhance who you are.
Right.
And it's how you look at those stories and how you look at your life is what makes the big difference. And when I started to do this, that's when I had already shifted to how to look at my life in a different light than what it had been forced into, with the dark and the negative and that sort of stuff. So writing this book was so much fun. I mean, it was hilarious. And, I finished it during the pandemic, and I thought, there's got to be something good come out of this. So finishing this book during the pandemic was one of the big things. And it really changed your perspective of isolation and being at home and doing that sort of stuff, because I changed it into something creative instead of something negative.
And the changes I've seen in you since we first met, and
Yes.
and I know that the writing of our books is I wouldn't write the same book now as I wrote when I wrote my first book.
Just who you are,
because I keep changing. And it's like having the courage to stand up and share a story like that changes you, and it releases all the yucky stuff to the world, and then we keep going.
Yeah, it like with Joe and I, it released, and yourself, Becky, it released all of the negative into the world, so that other people can see it and learn from it. But it also opened up space in our own souls to be able to experience new and better things.
It gives a whole fresh perspective, a total difference in what happens to us.
Totally different perspective of everything. I mean, Joe used to call me the hibiscus lady. And it's because, I was very much an introvert. I still am an introvert, although some people think I'm not, but I'm very much an introvert, and Joe is too. So when I used to go to the functions with her, I would literally stand behind a tree or a picture. Can you talk, Joe, or are you still cutting in and out?
Aww.
I think she's still cutting in and out. Yeah, she's. We could have her dance for us.
She doesn't.
But through that journey, we can hear you off and on.
If you can hear me, I would.
Yeah.
You were this lady. You would stand behind that.
Joe, let's see if we turn
Yeah.
off your camera and see if we can hear you. Well, Joe's done some amazing things too, to be able to, with her frock off events and all the other things that she had done to what we bring to the world. And it's that art of storytelling that really makes the difference.
You've progressed a lot since the hibiscus plant.
Yes, I have. Shut off your camera and see if your sound is better. There. Oh, you're back.
She's the frozen lady.
Yeah.
Well, let's use this time for a celebration, and for those that are hearing this broadcast or know Brenda and Joe and Marta and Bud, be sure and pick up a copy of this book, and you will enjoy it. I'm sure you're going to get plenty of good laughs out of it, because it's so fun to see your progress, Brenda, and being able just to show that fun side and the sparkly side of you, and that you can laugh with life now.
Yeah, you have to be able to laugh at yourself. I mean, you can't laugh at yourself. Oh, where'd she go?
She totally
She's
got
gone.
out.
She was saying something, then she's gone. If you don't laugh at life's crazy experiences that you have, then you can't laugh. I mean, to me, you can always laugh at other people and things that happen to them, but you truly have to be able to laugh at yourself and the crazy things that you do. And I mean, one of the mottos that seems to be popping up all the time that people always say, I always say, well, how hard can it be?
Yeah,
Right, dear? How hard can it be? So that seems to be a motto that has carried on through a lot of people who know me really well. They always say, well, how hard can it be? From building a barn to building hay sheds to building things that you have no blueprints, you have no idea what you're doing, but a piece of paper or a napkin and a pen. And away you go. So you have to live life to the fullest, and just take all of those experiences and look at them in a better light. I mean, having vertigo and all of that sort of stuff, was it fun? No, it wasn't fun. But if you look at it and you go, oh, I had vertigo, and then you live in that moment of having vertigo, it doesn't do you any good. But if you say, yes, I had vertigo, but I still did this and this and this and this and this while I had vertigo, and you feel like you conquer it.
Mm-hmm.
And you leave it behind. And I still have episodes of vertigo every once in a while, and it's just like, okay, God, you guys just got, but you move above the experience.
Absolutely. I've had a few people that will go on and on about how bad things are, and I said, well, it could always be worse.
Yeah.
And if you look at it like, this is a part of life, and what are we going to do about it? And how do we treat it is really important, because it definitely could be worse, and it also could, So
everything could always be worse than what it is, because I mean, there's somebody always has a worse story, or somebody always has a worse experience, and for those worst experiences, you have to. It takes a while. Okay, I'll say this. If you've had a bad experience, you don't go through the bad experience and then go, oh, well, this was really, what happened. It takes a while for you to be able to work through the experience and to find the silver lining, or to find some humor in it, or to find that sort of stuff. It takes a while for that to happen. And sometimes you just have a bad experience that stays a bad experience.
Well, that's true, but I think that it's our life experiences that bring us to the work that we do in the world today.
Yeah.
And so if we didn't have those, maybe we would have never discovered our true gifts.
Oh, true. I look at my daughter, who just, was battling for her life in the ICU with COVID. And, I think, where can I find a positive? Where can I find a positive in this experience for myself and for her? And like, she's going to write her story in the next Sacred Hearts book. And I think that in writing that story and dealing with that trauma, she will come out of it a much stronger woman than she was before. Absolutely. Because of the experience. And she learned a lot of things about herself. And I learned a lot of things during that experience, because when they called us to go in and see her on the Monday while she was on life support, I didn't realize that, well, they don't let people go in to see people in ICU. That's with COVID. But they called me and I went in, and being able to see her and her knowing that I was there made a huge difference in her recovery.
Yes. Yeah.
And that, you look at that and you go like, holy smokes, our bond is so strong. The mother-daughter bond is so strong. And then the bond that she had with her sister and her niece, and with her fiance, those all helped her come through as a stronger woman. And she was strong to begin with, because the doctor said to me, he said, she's our champion, because she came out of life support, after being in there for 5 days. And within a matter of 2 or 3, I think 3 days, she was let home, because she did leaps and bounds in her recovery because of the strength in her belief that she was going to make it.
Because she decided. Yeah.
Because she decided. And I think that's one of the fundamental things with people that are in the ICU is, they need to know that there is people on the outside rooting for them. And I mean, and this hospital did FaceTimes. I mean, even though Martina was intubated and she didn't know, we could do a FaceTime with her, and the nurse would hold her iPad up and we could see Martina, and Martina could hear our voice.
Yes, they can hear you no matter what.
Right.
Yeah, and that made a huge difference. So, as much as it was a really, really bad experience, there's also some positive that came out of that in how she is dealing with it now. So, and I mean, thank you for having this, because I struggled for a long time trying to figure out where's the positive in this? Where's the positive in this? And just talking about it showed me the avenue of where the positive is. And if Martina's listening to this, she will see the avenue of the positive too. So, yeah.
And the fact that she's going to be writing about this experience in the chapter of the book is going to make a huge impact for her, because it's being able to put pen to paper and really convey your thoughts that just changes everything from it too.
Yeah. Until you know somebody personally who is going through it, it's kind of like over there. Mm-hmm. COVID is over there. And when COVID comes home and smacks you in the face and says, your loved one could possibly die from this, then you realize, oh my God,
it's real.
It makes it more real than listening on the TV, or here's our numbers and here's what we're doing and we're doing this shutdown and we're doing that shutdown. It makes it real, and that is scary. So I'm hoping that when she shares that story, it will bring it home for a lot of people that this is real.
This is real. Call that a checkpoint. And that time in your life where you have to make a decision. Am I going to stay here, or is it game over? And for sure, Martina was at that checkpoint, and she made the decision. She was stimulated somewhat to do that way by her mom, by her sister, by her niece. But it was a checkpoint, and the story is going to wrap around that. What's the checkpoint? And do I have a choice? And what choice do I make? And that'll be the fascination for that story when it appears. Can't wait.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's the fact that you rallied around her as a family too that can make all the difference. Because without that, and you're just by yourself, and I have, all of us know people that are in old folks' homes, you know, the
Mhm.
care facilities. And for those that don't have any family that reach out to them or during these things, they check out. And I just had my my sister's husband's mother just passed away, but she passed away on Mother's Day. But her son had not been to see her in many, many years, and it felt like it was her statement to the world. Well, you know, because she cried every day. Why doesn't my son see me? You know, and so it's the realization of the responsibility we have as family members to always take care of the ones we love. You know, always.
Yeah. And I think that's where it comes. Yeah. Pardon, Joe?
Yeah. I was just
Yeah.
saying, as humanity, we have a responsibility to lift each other up and
Absolutely.
to help, to give a hand up, you know, and to be there and to say you matter, because it is dreadful for people. I wanted to be a nurse, so I've seen what Brenda's talking about, and I obviously did not choose that career because it was too painful. But I can tell you, when people showed up, it made a huge difference. And Marta, you are so right. They hear every word you are saying.
Everything.
Yeah.
So you don't say negative words; you say
No.
positive. And
I mean,
I just want to. Sorry, go ahead, hon.
Well, we just came back. My mother-in-law passed away, not from COVID, but she had a massive stroke. And she had severe brain damage. But let me tell you, when we walked into, they had brought her back home for hospice. And we walked in her apartment, and we were just having a conversation with my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law. And she could hear us, and she went to hollering. You couldn't understand what she was saying, but she was hollering. And we went in there, and she was like, you know, patting our faces and our hands and everything. And we talked to her, and they know.
Right.
That's the last hospice told us.
They do.
That the hearing is the last thing to go.
Yeah.
That they can hear, you can hear until the very end. So like you say, there was no discussion with us, like, you know, well, you know, in the room or where she could hear us about, well, we knew she was dying. We had been told that.
Yeah.
It was only a matter of time, but that's not what we talked about. We talked about what was going on that day in the world with her. You know, well, this person's here, you know, do you realize that so-and-so is here, you know, and so forth. Because why put negative into people when so many, and not her especially, but when so many people are skewed that way anyway to the negative.
Exactly.
You've got to put positive into people, no matter what the situation is. It's like we said, there is always somebody in a worse condition than we are.
There is. And, you know, and one of the things, and I won't give anything away because Brenda, you told me a story that Martina said to you, and I'm not saying anything, but I will say this. The funny bone, it's no doubt she's your daughter. Because when you told that, you were laughing hysterically. And the funny thing about that was in a moment of still, you know, people could be wallowing, and that is what the book is about.
Yep.
You can be in the darkest, I got goosebumps now. You can be in the darkest of dark moments, and you can maybe meet that person that you have such a kindred connection that words don't need to be said. Like, you know, I just want to segue because I know you can hear me right.
Yep.
Yeah, Brenda, we're in Miami. I mean, the laughter was hysterical. It was, and we didn't even have to say anything. We'd look at each other and start laughing. And that is when you know, Marta, you're the exact same way. You're cut from that cloth of, yes, I'm not gonna swear, but I'm gonna say I'm in a S storm right now in something. But there is another side to this story. There's a silver cloud. I mean, Becky, it's the same with you. Like when I heard you talking the other day and you said, I didn't laugh. And I remember when I first met you, your laughter was stifled. I would say you had it, but it was stifled. And you had just started to unleash your Becky-ness, right?
Yes.
You know, actually that brings me back to our earlier conversation, but I'm not going to share that either. But my point is, you know, the unleashing of our soul comes through laughter, really. Because if you can move from the side of, this is an awful place right now, to there, you know, we're all, at any given time, any of us can be in that storm. But at any given time, we can also, as Bud said, it's a checkpoint. You decide how you're going to respond. And, you know, it's not just about reacting and going, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. What are you going to do? What's our next step? And that's why I love the book. As much as they're like the taco, I mean, the taco bed, you have to read the story to get that. But if you read the taco bed, when the hand came up, there was still life in the taco bed. This is a true story. Like, you can't even make this stuff up. No. And the reason it's funny is because it could have been the opposite. I could have been miserable. And
you could have suffocated.
But no, up came the hand out of the bed, and I survived the taco, right? And so it's funny I live in Mexico because it's so fitting, and you know that's why I was in and out, and I apologize for the connection. But I think if you could take the glory and the humor from the darkest moments, then you're living your life, and you can help other people step up. And
that's exactly it. Right. Yes. Well, that's one thing that your frock off, the first time I met you was at the frock off in, what was it, Victoria? And it was the beginning of a massive change for me because I felt supported, I felt loved, and I felt that, you know, the direction and the friendship that came from that has continued on. So look at, you know, some amazing stuff, and it's all how we show up in the world and what we share with others. Yeah.
You know, negative attracts negative. Doesn't matter. You know, every time, the more the drama, the more you get. I mean, that's the universe is, you know, whatever you believe in. I'm very spiritual, and I know what I believe in. But I will say this. If you keep in the negative, you sink into the story, then you become the story. If you stand on it, you change your life. But more importantly, you help change somebody else's life. And to me, you know, this book is so funny. But in every single chapter, there is some lesson that they've taken away, right? And brings us to, and also makes us realize if it's happening to her, then it must be happening. You know, it's okay. Like, I'm not alone. Right? Yeah. And it is funny. So it is.
The funny thing is that she wrote the book and somebody read it and made that exact point. There's a point to every story.
Yeah.
And that surprised her because she hadn't written it trying to make points with it. I mean, she was just telling the story. She's a storyteller. Exactly. And she was quite surprised that the point you just made, Joel, was in fact true.
Yeah, it is that. And really, if you write a book and you're not sharing something with your readers that's going to move them to the next level, you've kind of failed, in my opinion. But there hasn't been a book yet that Brenda's written that hasn't had lessons, you know, lessons in life, or just a new perspective, or yes, I can. If all that I got out of any book was yes, I can, or yes, I am, or I will, whatever, you know, it changes. But, you know, there are a lot of books out there that actually are more self-serving. These are not the case. This is not the case with Brenda. In fact,
never with Brenda's books.
Any of us that have written, we're all about helping change or lift. And in this case, you get to do it while you're laughing so hard. You better not be drinking a tea, I'll tell you that. Because I had a few moments where I was like, oh, crap, right? Like, but it is awesome. And I'm honored to be part of the book. And I'm glad that the detective, the sleuth Brenda, was watching and keeping those in her memory banks to share. Because those also serve for myself. Like, I take a lot of, I'm just so grateful. That's what I'm trying to say in my long-winded way.
Oh, beautiful.
Thank you. I have to say that I'll go back a bit for Bud.
Who learns lessons all the time.
I think when you know, Bud and I first met, I was, you know, we both had baggies that we had to deal with. That is for sure. And he said to me, he said, "How can I make you happy?" And I said, "It's not up to you to make me happy. It's up to me to make me happy." Because you could do whatever you want, and that, you know, and I'm not going to be happy unless I choose to be. And,
exactly.
And that was a turning point when you realize that my happiness isn't the responsibility of somebody else's. It's my own personal. Right.
Completely
it's my own
your own.
personal thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, for Bud, who's a giver and a carer and a nurturer and all of that good stuff, he married a woman who is kicking and screaming all the way. I don't need your help, and yada, yada, yada. You know? So in lots of ways, he had to learn how to make himself happy. Because I wasn't one to take a lot of nurturing and you know, somebody wanting to nurture me and somebody wanting to do this for me, and you know, and I was very, you know, anti that in lots of ways. So it was it was an interesting journey for both of us in lots of ways, and the funny things that I think are absolutely funny that he thinks are not. I still think are really, really funny. And he doesn't. But all in all,
poor Bud, he's a gentle soul, and he's with a kick-ass friend, girlfriend, sister, woman. And Bud, may the force be with you. I say that often because I know Brenda. I know. So
yeah,
Awesome.
I've kept him on his toes.
Yeah.
And you come full circle and get the balance of it all too. So
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm privileged to know and have met at least all of your husbands. And you saw mine earlier. Thank goodness. You know, and the truth of it is that you don't get where you are without someone standing beside you that believes in you and cheers you on. And I don't need a clone of me. I know that. And Brenda, heaven forbid, you do not need a
No,
the most love.
No, the world does not need another me. That is for sure. It's not prepared for that in lots of ways.
No.
One thing I must,
so grateful that you took your stories and turned them in, because there isn't, you know, one story in there that I didn't read that I was going, oh my gosh, or oh, I forgot about this, or you know, so, and just so funny. That's really it's the healing. That's
yes, it is. Laughter is the best medicine.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. One thing I must say is this book is probably the most revealing book of my true personality.
Yeah.
You know, like all of the other books, you know, are good, and I'm not saying that, but this is the book that shows my true personality for the select few people who get to see it. So now the whole world's going to get to see it.
Yeah. But, you know, it's also, Becky, you said this so well earlier too. Your first book is, you wouldn't write that same book. And so, you know what it is, the blessings of the writing and the sharing of stories, which is all of our history is built on this. Our society is built on story sharing. Is that we evolve, and so this hidden person that was just under the surface, only certain people got to see. Now, Brenda, you're out to the world. That's awesome.
Yes, right. I realized that after I had put it out there, I went, oh.
Oh dear.
Oh, okay. And it's kind of it's liberating, but it's kind of scary at the same time, because now people are going to see me for me. You know, that's one that I always held back. The one that was always, you know, only a select few got my weird, sick humor sometimes, you know. So I mean, Bud's been, you know, a victim of it many times. But,
a victim. I like,
you know,
and he's still smiling.
Yeah, he's still here.
That's got to say something, Bud. I'm sorry. May the force be with you. You know,
it would take a big gun to get me to move.
I know.
That says a whole lot.
Yeah.
I think the world could use a bit more Brenda.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you.
That's beautiful. With that, we celebrate, and we'll close off our conversation for today. But thank you, each of us. It's been a fun conversation. I've enjoyed the laughter and the memories and the good things that have shared here. And thank you for letting me be a part of it. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing when I'm with you know, these two ladies here, Joe and Marta, is nonstop laughter. I mean, nonstop. I mean, there isn't anything that we don't laugh about, and we do have some very serious conversations. I mean, and we do look at sometimes life challenges. We look at it very direct, and we look at it in a more positive step forward way. Would you ladies agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, there isn't
the only way.
there isn't any topic that we don't talk about, literally, but we talk about them in a very positive way. So it makes a friendship a beautiful experience. And I'm forever grateful for having Joe and Marta and Bud in my life, because some of those stories wouldn't be quite so funny without them.
I think you better make this a monthly thing, Becky, and Beauty's and the Beast.
Yeah.
Becky, thank you for allowing me to be part of this as well. And Brenda, as always, love you.
I love you too.
It's wonderful. So thank you all for being here, and enjoy your day to celebrate the fact that you brought one amazing book that you brought to the world. One more.
Get yours today.
Yes, get your copies today so that you can have a little bit of what went on today with fun and laughter, and you should be laughing, that's for sure.
All right, big hugs to all of you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.